What's up? Welcome back to the newest episode of Saj the Sage podcast. I am your lovely host, Saj the Sage. I am pleased to bring you another episode. I really wanted to speak about a couple of things that I haven't really dug in deep. I know that I've touched on my shamanic journeys and things like that, but I haven't really gotten as in detail with it. So, this is definitely a really good episode if you really want to learn about shamanic practices and my experience with it. So, to pop the episode off, let's begin with a little protection spell. May all of those who are meant to hear and see my message, may you guys receive this with clear minds and listening ears. But take what applies, let the rest fly. To all of those who are not meant to listen to me, may you guys gain the clarity to mind your motherfucking business. Okay, so let's get into it. So, if you guys aren't familiar, cultures, even from the east to the west, have had shamanic practices. So, to define what a shaman is, it's a practitioner that uses plant medicine, divination, and trances to access other realms for healing, guidance, initiation, and diagnosing what is happening with you spiritually. So, with shamans, they do a lot of work to basically protect you along your trips. Now, I'm not saying that you always have to have a trip. If you guys are not aware of what a trip is, if you've ever heard people say, oh, I'm taking acid or shrooms or something like that, they'll say they're on a trip. And I know that a lot of people who do take acid and stuff like that, if they are, just making sure they have a good trip or they don't want to be in the effed up situation at the end of it, they'll make sure they have someone sober to watch over them and they'll call it their trip sitter, actually, which is rather interesting. But in the ancient form, that would have been the shaman. So when you take acid and these hallucinogens, normally when you are taking the actual plants, there is more of a ritual that happens, and you have a shaman that helps you, guides you, make sure you're taking the right dosages, and helps you interpret whatever it is that you see within those trance-like states. So that's to give you an idea. The shaman is looked at as the witch doctor, the ancestor that does the healing within the village. And in a lot of different cultures, there are multiple shamans within villages just because people may have different abilities and different uses. Because a part of the shamanic practices, when they're diagnosing or going into healing ceremonies, there's a lot of different divination tools that they use. So let's go ahead and start getting into some of that actually. So I'm going to reference this article from Stanford Medicine, and that link is going to be in the description. So I want to get into this because it actually talks about a couple of different things that I haven't heard of yet. But apparently, when shamans use divination, they use different things like eggs, feathers, tobacco, and different things to be able to pick up on whatever is going on with you. So let's go ahead and get into just some general ideas of some of the different tools that they use. So I'm aware of doing divination with eggs. You can basically, with that process, you crack an egg and you kind of read what the yolk is saying based off of like how it splits and things like that. However, I didn't know that they can do divination with rice, silver coins, water, chopsticks, incense. Now, I've heard of smoke divination before. So it is just rather interesting that is all these different forms. But to be honest, I follow a lot of conjure women on Twitter, so I know that they're, pretty much anything can be a divination tool, to be real with you. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, in this article, it references that shamans normally have two categories of rituals. So it's either the diagnostic ceremonies or the healing ceremonies. They have their ancient words as well. They're referred to in their native tongue. I don't speak it, so I've actually tried to sound it out, but I was like, let me not butcher it. But overall, one category is the diagnostic ceremonies and the other is the healing ceremonies. So the good thing is that with these situations is that you don't always have to go to a shaman if you already know what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just don't know. You don't have a clue what is going on with you, and you reach out to a shaman to discover that unknown. So I'm pretty sure you guys have seen on maybe some reality TV shows before, but they'll have it to where they'll actually visit a shaman to resolve things that's happening in the group dynamic and things like that. So in those situations, you already know what's happening. So you would go to a shaman for a healing ceremony. But to be honest with you, with people who do have certain ailments and struggles that they have, they may not know the root source, and going through the shamanic ritual to diagnose it is really, really helpful. Just because this is some of the things that happens within that trance. I'm going to go ahead and refer to the article again. So it speaks about the shaman entering the trance. His soul accompanies his helping spirits into the spiritual realm to discover the spiritual cause of the illnesses or the spiritual battles or ancestral issues that may be happening with the individual that is in need. So what the shaman does is they actually locate the wayward or detached soul, and they do go through a process of winning that spiritual battle for the health of their client. Let's say that. I don't want to say patient. I thought about that, but that's, we'll get into it actually a little bit later on in the episode, because there is a layer of integrated medicine that happens with this as well. So this is rather interesting because from my experience with the shamanic journey, it does feel as if you're in a spiritual battle with certain situations. I've had shamanic journeys where things were just synchronizing and things felt really good and affirming, although it was a little bit odd that my reality was shaping and forming so immediate with me. However, there have been, especially when I'm going through more darker times and I'm picking up or uncovering past life trauma or whatever it is, it does feel like, in a sense, that there's a spiritual battle going on. And so for the shaman to do that for their clients, that's an extreme feat. You know what I mean? That is someone who is really going to bat for an individual. And I just thought that was really interesting, because there's a couple of different ways that you can undergo a shamanic ritual. The most common one that people know is ayahuasca, where you drink the tea and then you have the shaman there guiding you and you're the one that's going through it. You know what I mean? However, you don't always have to consume the herb or whatever the hallucinogen is for you to receive these messages. The shaman can take that on and go into these realms for you and figure things out. Especially, it was speaking about an article, especially for elders. So you have to think about it. When you have the ability to go between realms, those who are older up in age and, preparing for their transition, this would be really, really helpful, because not to say they shouldn't be on ayahuasca and things like that, but, you don't necessarily want to induce that hallucinogenic state onto them, and you want to be able to still help them and figure out what's going on with them spiritually. So this is really, when I learned that aspect to it, I was really impressed, because it just let me know that, especially because I have just the natural inclination for it, and it does have a lot to do with like my ancestry and things like that. But as I grow in this practice and soon will be, fully certified and trained and actually go through that full process, I'm realizing that, wow, when you do these, when you go into these trances, you're definitely putting yourself, not to say at risk, but you're actually a protector and a warrior and a spiritual warrior in a way, to where you're willing to say, okay, let me go ahead and take a look. And, it does remind me of like mediums and psychic individuals who communicate with the dead or communicate with other spirits. They are opening themselves up to be susceptible to whatever it is that those spirits have going on, to interpret it, discern it, relay the message and things like that, and possibly have to banish it away or whatever the situation is with their conjure work. And it made me realize that with the shamanic rituals, it has that same element of, actually being a practitioner, actually being someone who is truly caring for people's health. So that was just rather interesting, but we can go ahead and refer back to the article again. It just speaks about how the shaman describes the situation. So upon his return, he'll describe whatever the spiritual cause is, the obstacles he encountered, and the necessary ensuing steps. So if he has been successful in his spiritual battle, then he announces that person, he'll give them a time frame for when they should feel better. And if something else comes up in between, then they'll go ahead and make sure that's addressed. So this is rather cool, because when you think about it, you do have to be willing to, in a lot of ways, like as people, as an individual who does divination, and you do, like, let's say like astrology forecasts or horoscopes or tarot readings and things like that, you do as a practitioner have to have some level of efficiency and ability to measure the results. You know what I mean? So when I'm speaking about this topic about shamanic practices, I don't want people to think that it's so abstract and it's something that's more of a placebo effect. No, these are actual results that can be measured, and that has been measured. We're going to get into that later on, but I just want to open it up so that you guys don't think of a shamanic journey just as someone who is having a psychedelic trip. You know what I'm saying? It's not just that, because yeah, you can take acid and you can take shrooms and all these things, and you can have all of these, whoa, dude, everything's connected moments. And then afterwards, you still dealing and struggling with the same shit that you didn't realize that you were peeping along that trip, if that makes sense. When you have a practitioner there to point out what what an evil spirit is, what is an ancestral connection, what is a past life connection, what is the root cause to whatever ailment that you may be struggling with. When you have someone who's able to guide you and support you within that, I feel like when you're taking psychedelics, it enhances the experience so much more, to where you're not abusing the drug, you're actually using it for its healing purposes. You know what I mean? So, and it's just rather interesting when, people don't have an understanding on it, and they can tend to be, negative about it or judgmental or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is that the same way we have practitioners in healthcare, for mental health, for whatever it is, there's practitioners in the spiritual realm too, and in our spiritual aspects of the world. We don't always have to go to a traditional church to get that type of spiritual healing. Okay, because we got to get into it now. I want to talk a little bit about the ancient history of it, because when we get into the modern, y'all are going to be shocked. Okay, y'all going to be very shocked. So, in terms of some of the ancient shamanic practices, we cannot overlook what is now considered Latin America, and really the Americas as a whole. But you know what I'm saying? Latin America and the Americas, like the natives definitely were able to keep the integrity of their practices so that they can pass down this culture and let it be known like this is definitely a thing that was done. So Mesoamericans definitely utilize shamans. Now with them, they more so use sweeping cleanses. So to give you an idea of their shamanic cleanses, they would basically be targeted at cleansing the mind, body, and soul, and preparing people for transitions, to see if that person or that individual needs to have some sort of supernatural being, show up for them, guide them, or they have to continue to be connected with, or they do need some sort of support to kind of like banish some sort of evil energy. So, and when I say evil, I mean like living backwards type of energy that's keeping you down, decrepit, eroding at you. So it is really cool because with these sweeping rituals, they're able to basically, purify, because with this situation, with the categories that I was speaking about previously, when we have diagnosing and healing, healing doesn't always have to be like, oh, something is wrong. Sometimes you want to do maintenance, like car maintenance, where you have to get your oil changed and things like that. You can do cleanses, like we do gut cleanses and things like that. You can do these cleanses for your spiritual body, for your light body, right? So that is what these sweeping practices are doing. They're removing, the residual heavy energy that the clutter that you don't need, and just to actually reference the article that I'm speaking about, I'm going to make sure I have this in the link as well. The author was speaking about the fact that they would be able to remove filth and dirt from the aura and the energetic fields of those who receive those shamanic practices, and what they associated that filth and dirt with was the vices, the wrongdoings, the disgraces, to where, that people have these habitual toxic habits, like somebody could be a chronic smoker, somebody can be a thief, or whatever it is. They may have these inclinations that they haven't been able to break away from. You know what I'm saying? You see it all the time, to where, they talk about like, oh, if you watch like Ocean's 11 or whatever, I think it was like Ocean's 12, where they were like, oh, they retired from stealing and things like that, but they keep getting that urge and they keep getting that itch and things like that. Or let's think about it, someone who is addicted to drugs and things like that. They find it so hard to break. They can get their life together as much as they can, but that urge won't leave them. Well, not to say that, you know what I'm saying, fuck it, there's a cure-all for that. But to be completely honest with you, while you're building up that willpower and you're building up that muscle to resist, it would be a tremendous help to go through a spiritual practice where you're actually sweeping yourself of that residue on your aura so that you can create new pathways. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to where you're constantly in that same old energy. And so, that's what sweeping rituals are. So, well, that's what they do. So what they can be done with a few different things. They can be done with like special brooms, bundles of flowers, They can use feathers, herbs, things like that. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but if you've seen videos of someone maybe shaking, like it probably looks like a eucalyptus branch over people's shoulders, doing like rituals and stuff like that. That is an idea of what a sweeping ritual could look like. Now, the uses for it was really interesting. So they felt, well, I'm not even going to say they felt, but specifically, I'm talking about Mesoamerican shamans right now. So just to have an idea of where that would be like the Aztecs, the Mayans, which is like located currently for their current locations like Mexico, and things like that. But anyway, so they would use them to prepare, they would use sweeping rituals to prepare sacred spaces. They would use sweeping rituals to pave the way for deities coming in through newborns, because you know how the reincarnation cycle and things like that works. And then they would also use sweeping rituals for prosperity for seasons. So as the seasons change and things like that, to keep bringing in, I guess, a crop and things like that. So it's just rather interesting that with these rituals, it was just seen as a natural part of life, you know what I'm saying? To be that intentional, to make sure that you're creating a safe space for a baby to come in. You are creating a safe space for a new harvest to come in and things like that. And these are a lot of practices that we are no longer using, you know what I mean? And I do mean we, because a lot of us are indeed indigenous to this land, although we do also have lineages that extend beyond just America. Many of us, especially Black Americans, we have African ancestry, and we also have what is now called American ancestry, even though I guess I can say what was now called African too, because it wasn't called Africa before. But anyway, so we actually do have ancestry in both places. A lot of us do. I mean, I would say for me, in my own personal journey for my own ancestry, what I was able to derive by just speaking to my grandmother and things like that, she explained it pretty clearly. She was just like, yeah, so in terms of her lineage, her grandmother was African and a slave. Her mother was a child when they got out of slavery. So she has African ancestry there. Her mother had a child with a Blackfoot Native American man. And so that's how my grandmother came to existence. So I am indeed African and Blackfoot on that end. And then, learn about my grandfather's history. With him, we're basically on both of his sides, where his mother and father, well, I think it's his father or his mother is half white and Cherokee, and I know. And then his other parent is Black and Cherokee. So it is rather interesting, how the mingling has happened and things of that nature. And then even on my father's side, speaking to him, finding out more about my ancestry, in terms of the tribes with the Native American tribes and things like that, he's unaware of that, but he does know that his father is African as well. You know what I'm saying? He's either from Senegal or Ghana. So it's rather interesting, because it's just like, you have to think about the fact that this is all within our blood. You know what I mean? A lot of us are actually we have roots here. We have roots everywhere, technically, but we don't really utilize or do research or take advantage of any of our ancient practices that are fit for our DNA. When our ancestors are building up these rituals and building up these traditions, this is getting encoded in our DNA to help us as we express our genes at its highest level. You know what I'm saying? When we don't have that foundation, when we don't have those tools in our wheelhouse, we tend to just be like, okay, got to try to figure it out. And now we're just figuring it out with some shit that somebody else gave us. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to get into it because that tends to result in more of the disassociation and the extreme ways that like mental health, and really because mental health is very closely linked to spiritual health, and where we are as a community. And I'm specifically talking about indigenous melanated people. So I'm actually going to refer to another article, which is really, really good. This one was written by a podcaster named Jason, and he is talking about his experience with a West African shaman who he was able to, meet and learn more about in terms of like spirituality, holistic psychiatry, things like that. So he is expressing, he basically opens up the article talking about his time with dealing with his own personal depression, bipolar, psychosis, and schizophrenic episodes. So he has had the full gamut of these, more quote unquote extreme mental health issues. And the West African shaman, his name is actually Malidoma. Malidoma was actually able to bestow knowledge to him about how his tribe and his village handles mental health. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get into it because there's actually a few good books that I want to reference, but I'll make sure they're going to be in the description so you guys can read some of that stuff directly from some of the authors. So what Malidoma speaks about is his experience when he went into a mental health clinic. So let's get into it. He explains that mental illness signals the birth of a healer, meaning that mental disorders are looked at as spiritual emergencies and spiritual crises, so that individual is able to shock its body into the transformation that it's about to undergo, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So he was speaking about the view for his people. He's from the Dagara tribe in West Africa. He was talking about the fact that he and his people view mental illness as good news from the other world, meaning that there's obvious some sort of spiritual communication from the other world, and this person is showing us proof of it. They're showing that they're receiving something and something is happening. So we can now use their experience for that divination to figure out whatever the message is, and to, of course, help alleviate that person of whatever that burden of receiving it is, so that they can now hone in on that skill to pick up on those messages and, be one of the healers. Not to say that they have to be a healer, you know what I'm saying? Because just because you go through a depression, just because you go through schizophrenia or anxiety or whatever, a psychosis or any of these things, doesn't mean that you now have to be a healer after the fact. However, if you realize, as just by me telling my story, I'll actually get into that now, but recently This was actually back in September. I was going through a shamanic journey and things like that. And, I was actually, kind of just minding my business outside, trying to get some sun, talking to myself type shit or whatever. But I was really just minding my business in my neighborhood. And I actually ended up getting into it with one of my neighbors because I asked him, like, oh, are you guys moving? He just tripped out on me. I don't know, maybe it was a corona situation because he acted like I was just too close to him to ask him a question or whatever. And hell, he looked like he was moving. He had, his clothes and everything. Hell, maybe I was tripping, but well, obviously I was on a shamanic journey at the time. But during that process, once it turned into an argument, I completely spiraled out, right? And so while I'm having a shamanic journey and picking up on all these different things, then I end up getting in an argument with someone. And then now he actually ended up calling the police on me and things like that. And I ended up, having to go to jail for a little while. So the thing is that when I was speaking to, when you're in jail, you talk, you tell people why you're there, whatever. I'm speaking to the women in there expressing, what I went through, the fact that, the first time I had a shamanic journey, they let me know it was a schizophrenic episode. When I first went through it, I got admitted to a mental hospital that time. I was with my family. So I'm not saying getting admitted to a mental health hospital was good, but hell, it was better than jail. It was better than jail, actually, because the mental health hospital, you don't got to deal with all this motherfucking court case shit. But anyway, so the point is that when I was speaking to the women in jail, telling them about my experience, they let me know that they've experienced that same situation. And I was telling them, it was like, oh, I thought it was bipolar. Oh, I thought I just had a bad temper and things like that. This is what these women are telling me. But when I'm describing, what I experience, how it connects to, what I be having going on spiritually and stuff like that, they're like, hold on, I didn't know there was that, this is, you're giving me language for it now, right? So that is being a healer in itself. Just you as having your testimony and speaking your truth, you are now a healer. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that you have to do the most with it, but I do want people to realize that when you are in these positions to where your body and your mind is inducing these psychosis moments and these spiritual emergencies, which is what, if we even break down what psyche is and psychology and all of that and spirit, when we do that connection, when you're having these psychological moments, these spiritual moments, you are indeed tapping in to a power out, not even, I'm going to say greater than you, but that's not really the proper term, but you're now tapping into that supernatural power. You're now tapping into that power of other realms that transcends just this one dimension. You know what I mean? And I really do want people to kind of get that, because this is not news to nobody except for motherfuckers who are so stuck underneath the Western mindset that they can't see what has always been in front of us. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and get into it, because Malidoma actually gets really specific. So let me see here. So boom. He says, the person going through the crisis has been chosen as a medium for a message to the community that needs to be communicated from the spirit realm. Mental disorder, behavioral disorder of all kinds signal the fact that two obviously incompatible energies have merged into the same field. These disturbances result when the person does not get assistance in dealing with the presence of the energy from the spirit realm. One of the things that Dr. Malidoma encountered when he first came to the United States in 1980 was how this country deals with mental illness. When a fellow student was sent to a mental institute due to nervous depression, Dr. Malioma went to visit him, and he was shocked that the first time he was face to face with the dude, the first time he was face to face with what was happening within the actual clinic, it was just like, for him, no wonder people are going through what they're going through. So he was basically saying that when he got there, he saw that people were exhibiting the same symptoms that he saw in his village when he was amongst the Gara people. So what struck Dr. Malidama was that the attention given to such symptoms was based on pathology, on the idea that the condition is something that needs to stop. This was in complete opposition to what his culture views as a situation. He looked around the ward of patients. Some of them were in actual straitjackets, zoned out, and spaced out on medication, screaming, things like that. And he says, so this is how the healers who are attempting to be born are treated in this culture. What a loss. What a loss that a person who is finally being aligned with the power from the other world is just being wasted. I'm gonna be real with you, bro. Let's have a sidebar right now. Papi, all y'all niggas that be saying that y'all so magical, bro. And it's just not a diss. This is not natural born superpower versus whatever the fuck. Bro, everything I love. Y'all niggas be saying that y'all so magical, y'all so powerful, and y'all minds don't even bend dirty. What are you talking about? If you have not been able to bend and actually witness the bending of your mind and the bending of your reality around you, bro, relax with certain conversations. You feel me? That's what the beef has turned into for me personally, because I have been gas lit the fuck up. Okay, I have been gassed all the way the fuck lit about the shit that I've picked up on during my shamanic journeys, about people being pregnant, about certain conspiracy theories, about the shit that I told y'all niggas was doing with the last episode, talking about the gang stalking and shit like that. Gas the fuck lit the fuck up. Niggas telling me, oh, maybe you just had some weed with some PCP and all this bullshit. Bitch. All of that motherfucking shit just to find the fuck out a bitch was right. Niggas who I was seeing was pregnant during them damn shamanic journeys ended up motherfucking pregnant. Or announced their pregnancy, really. Motherfuckers do gang stalk niggas. Okay? That's a fact at this point. I don't even have to fucking Google it. No fucking word. Other celebrities have talked about their experience with that shit. So done data. What else you gotta say? What else? All the conspiracy. Well, to be honest, the conspiracy theories has been true any motherfucking way. No, it is what it is. That. But, and I don't even be telling all the shit that I be people on the goddamn shamanic journeys. But I have shared with certain people a lot of the stuff that I do peep, and this shit be right. And I told y'all about using that motherfucking metaverse motherfucking word on motherfucking loosely. I know that, hey, the synchronicities is kind of motherfucking crazy, because I said that one day and then I think the next motherfucking week, Facebook changed their motherfucking name to metaverse, but y'all shouldn't have been doing that dumb ass shit. Anybody could have fucking told you that. And that's just for something that I peeped on my own personal shamanic journey. I said, why is y'all doing that? See, now this, y'all done fuck the shit up. But do you? Anyway, so the point the fuck is that niggas, the shit that I'll be peeping on my shamanic journeys where niggas are saying that I'm motherfucking crazy and going to a motherfucking schizophrenic episode, bipolar, this and that, niggas wanna say, guess the fuck what, bitch, I be right. Shout out to the Kanye's of the world. Okay, who else they trying to call crazy? Cat Williams. Who else? Did they do that today? No, I didn't. But the point, the fuck is, All the motherfuckers that y'all say is crazy and going the fuck crazy, why the fuck we be telling the truth? Why we be saying facts? And why the fuck is, if y'all ever peep, because, you know, I spoke about this previously, you know, how like homeless people, a lot of times, like, you know, they'll be schizophrenic or they'll be talking, they'll be receiving, they may be on drugs, but they're communicating with other spirits, it's just the truth, and things of that nature. Why we have it to where it's so stereotypical for us, you know, the schizophrenic homeless person to be like, oh, they're watching us, blah, say blah. But then now we got the whole Black Mirror motherfucking moment happening in fucking China. It's about to happen over here. It's already on the way. I mean, we got cameras every the fuck where all they gotta do is create some sort of damn social credit system to make it work for the final piece. And but y'all want to say that the motherfucker on the street, who was sitting here telling you this and that, he crazy and he this and that just because he's homeless? No, inappropriate, appropriate. Y'all motherfuckers always want to motherfucking judge other motherfucking people who be having true psychic experiences, telepathic experiences, mediumship experiences, channeler experiences. I don't know what to say for that. I don't know what the official word is on that one. But the people who actually do be communicating across motherfucking realms, y'all want to call them woo-woo, y'all want to call them this and that, but then y'all happy asses, and woo-woo isn't the worst, it's not the worst thing to call it, but you know what I'm saying. But then y'all happy asses want to say that you're so fucking powerful and you manifesting your reality around you and you this and that. How that work? How that work? No, the fuck it don't. It don't fucking work because you're not realizing that the same thing that you're judging and things like that are indeed a reflection of something that you may have within you. There's very little that I can say I will never do. You know, I have to be real. When I see somebody on the street that's homeless, I'm not going to lie. Some of those people have the right idea, okay? When they have their camp, when they have their tents and stuff like that, oh baby, you're on point, because I'm not gonna lie, I want to live off the land. I'm not gonna do it in the middle of nobody busy ass city, because you know, fuck it. You know what I'm saying? I'll just be at my family house at that situation. That's me personally. But these people may not have no motherfucking family house to go to. If you don't got no family house to go to, guess what you're gonna be? On the streets. And it is what it is. And it's not the worst idea. They're not far-fetched from the fact that we should not be paying no motherfucking rent or no goddamn water bill, because these bitches cannot really charge us for no motherfucking water. They really can't say that they own no motherfucking land for real, nigga. We only just keeping it up because y'all niggas got guns right now. Because you know you really can't say you own no motherfucking land unless you're gonna make sure you protect the shit. Because you really don't own no shit, nigga. You die. So you don't own shit. But anyway, because that's me getting all into, because you know, I'm getting into my Native American. That's me getting into my full Native American mode. But you know what the fuck I'm talking about, bitches. People who are really on the outskirts and the outliers and the people that you push off, they really be having the right idea about what the fuck going on, niggas. And y'all want to sit here and say people don't be having the right mental health and the stability and this and that. Yes, it is important to have that stability, because what did Dr. Malidoma talk about? Yeah, these are the mediums, and they just received a message. So therefore, these people need to be cared for and tended to, so that they can receive their message, and then they can make sure that the next time they get a message, they're ready for it. They know how to receive it. They know how to express it. It's not going to take them over. They can release that spirit after it's done. Or don't even have to enmesh with the spirit. Just say, "Oh, whoo, whoo. You said something. I'm listening." But don't merge with the aura, please. You feel me? That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Because y'all want to sit up here and motherfucking sit here and judge every motherfucking body. And that's why I always bring up Kanye as my go-to motherfucking example. Because y'all judge motherfuckers like the Kanyes in the motherfucking world, and guess the fuck what, they be right. Think the fuck not. Think you the fuck not. Because I just get tired. I get so fucking tired of the bullshit. And this is just my own personal, because I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm pretty sure that upon listening to this, you know, everybody who's listening to this who's pretty open-minded and objective, they're like, oh, okay, this is just new information. This is something for me to research. This is cool. You know what I'm saying? Anybody who never really felt a way about any of this shit, you know, they just coming at it with just a blank slate. I do apologize for putting all of my personal feelings within this situation right now. But it is what the fuck it is. Okay? I do not appreciate that shit, bruh. And I said that after my last shamanic journeys, y'all bitches can't gaslight me no motherfucker more. Oh no, baby. It can't happen. It's not happening, boo. No, I don't want to hear that shit. I done built up enough discernment to say, okay, this is me, and that's and this is some shit I'm picking up on. I got self-awareness. Matter of fact, nigga, the first shamanic journey, nigga, I was saying that all that shit was me. I blame me for the whole shit. So at this point, hell, I got the baseline, bitches. I check with me first. But as soon as I keep getting that affirmation, that confirmation that I'm picking some shit about some other shit, oh, baby, please, I'm not doubting it. I'm not doubting it, baby. It's not happening. But that's besides the fact. Okay. So, as you can see, when Dr. Maldomo went up into the mental health hospital and you see the people yelling and stuff like that, you know, a little bit of example with me and my rant, he was like, y'all shouldn't be treating these people like that. The fuck wrong with y'all? Like, y'all need to know better. Okay, let me see really, really quickly. So he actually gets into it rather detailed, which is really good because he addresses a lot of the different things. So he is speaking about the fact that essentially when you are able to transcend worlds just with your mind, your body don't gotta go nowhere, when you can just do it with your mind, you do have to build up the rituals of cleansing to be sure that there aren't any entities that are just hanging around trying to keep telling you things about what's going on. And like sometimes, you know, there are some lost spirits that do need guidance and they know that you're able to receive their message and put it out, and it is helpful. But there are some spirits to where it's like, okay, you know, I keep having this recurring thought, something is going on. And then that's what it was when I was referring to the Stanford article, when it was just speaking about the fact that, you know, sometimes just like some ancestral things happening. Like sometimes there, and I've peeped that before, to where there may be like some sort of ancestral entity or past life entity that is like lurking around, you know, maybe like someone's aura, or, you know, or something. It's rather complex. I will say I'm very new to this. Now, the shamanic portion for me, like I've been studying metaphysics and occult for quite some time, but the shamanic portion for me didn't happen until 2018. That's when I first had that experience. And then I did pay for a class in 2019. The interesting fact with that was, I was talking to the teacher. He was like, "You already know all of this," and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I knew it, but like when he was expressing and teaching me about it, it just was so intuitive. Like I just was like, it was just like resonance with stuff, you just pick it right back up. So that is just rather interesting. But I do actually want to complete a full process, because I could have been certified then, but I will admit, during that time, I was worrying about graduating. I got certified in body sculpting for non-invasive surgery and stuff like that. So I was just like, I was really in my full expression of science mode. And I really had not honed in on what my life could look like. I'm not gonna lie, picking up all those skills does help for what I ultimately want to do. However, when you get those opportunities, it's like, dang, I did have a really good opportunity that I could have already got out the way, especially since it's something I already want to do it again. But it's just like, to be completely honest, you don't really have to be certified to do it, but you do have to learn these damn practices. You got to be certified on that. Not, you don't have to be certified in terms of like a piece of paper, you know what I'm saying? But your motherfucking ass need to motherfucking learn. You need to learn from the elders, and you need to learn from people who have been practicing for some time so that you can know what to do, what to not do, and the proper ethical procedures. You know what I'm saying? You do need to know what that is. And that's something, I mean, that's just how I am. I studied, well, I talked about it a little bit, but I studied psychology and pre-medicine and chemistry in college. Baby boo. When it comes to at least having a standard of ethics and a standard of what is best practices, that's something that I hold near and dear, mainly because I don't fuck with how, the current state of, Western medicine has been abusing and mistreating people when they go into their motherfucking hospitals because they're not being ethical and they're not using the best practices. And also how much corruption can happen due to that with all the experimentation that has happened on our people. Okay, that fuck. And the fact that when it comes to these type of situations, all that loosey goosey shit when we dealing with the spiritual, it's not, nobody's rocking with that. Nobody's taking a chance on that. So, for me personally, that's my evolution and my process. But I did want to address the fact that Dr. Malidomo also talked about a couple of the different ways that, actually having a shamanic practice can help. It will at least help so that you can keep your aura cleansed, and so that you don't actually short your fuse, meaning that you can maintain your connection and like your signal to the other worlds without it being short, and now you can't, without it being shot, and now you can't control it. You know what I'm saying? Which is very important. That's when people say, oh, somebody snapped and then they're just not the same person anymore. That's important to remember, you know what I'm saying? Which is why people say you should not be taking acid. And well, they only say acid. They don't say that about shrooms, but I remember that when we was younger, learning about drugs and shit, they were like, oh, if you take too much acid, your brain fries or whatever. I think that if you take too much acid, you're probably likely to have seen so much that you're like, okay, what's the point of living? And you may be a little spacey. But I do think that it can do damage to your actual neural pathways because it is that potency of those isolated hallucinogenic elements, and it's isolated and put into a highly concentrated tab. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that, when you're not using the plants, you can't dose it the best way for long-term use. Which is why a lot of people are like, okay, microdosing shrooms and stuff like that is healthy, as a healthy alternative to some of the other things that people were using, to enjoy psychedelics, just so that you can monitor it. You don't want it to be where you're taking a tab and you don't know what the concentration is, on that shit or whatever. Oh, I took a half, I took a piece, or whatever. Yeah, but if you continue to take it for long periods of time, that may not be healthy. So, something like shrooms or weed or something that does have those hallucinogenic properties so that you can, if you want to continue to enjoy that trance-like state, you can do it in a microdose way. Because that's what I normally do. A lot of what I smoke is definitely like CBD, and it's mild weed. I keep telling people that. Boo, by the way, this is a side note. Y'all need to stop disrespecting me, okay? No. I know whoever is listening to it, y'all be on that Zai, y'all be on that gas, y'all be on whatever. No, y'all need to start disrespecting men, because the same way y'all said y'all want some motherfucking seeds in y'all motherfucking watermelon, it's not a problem. Always, it's not a problem to have. Always a problem to have seeds in your weed. Now, if this nigga that made you pay for some shit, he said it was some Zion and got seeds, and yes, it's an issue. However, if it's just some regular weed, and they let's say this is some regular shit now, you know what I'm saying? You get it, you got it for the low, so you know it's some regular shit. And they gotta see, y'all need to stop with all the derogatory shit, because that's what that's gonna help you do. Be able to microdose, be able to use the healing properties of the CBD instead of abusing the hallucinogenic properties of the THC. Thank you very much. No, this is what I'm saying, because y'all don't want to do nothing healthy. And I'm not gonna say y'all because I don't know, but to the weed smokers who are addicted to the Zai and y'all can't do nothing else, please believe, yes, you can enjoy a lifetime of smoking weed, and it doesn't have to be the strongest weed in the goddamn world. It's so many benefits to microdosing. You don't have to buy as much weed because now your tolerance is lower. And you don't have to be as motherfucking high, because we all know how the weed smokers are. We like to include a blunt. It's very little things that a blunt don't go with. You don't have to be so goddamn high when you're including your weed on your everyday activities. What is the slander for? Please work on it. Get back to me. Put it in the comments, because I want to know. But overall, that's besides the fact. You don't want to short circuit your fuse and your connection to the other realms. You feel me? So that's what any hallucinogen that you're taking, anything like that, you don't want to abuse it. So let's get into the modern history. So everybody knows about ayahuasca. I feel like Joe Rogan has spoken about it, Mike Tyson, everybody and their mother has spoken about ayahuasca tea. And it is one of those interesting things, because when I first learned about it, I learned about it because I wanted to learn about the DMT molecule, because I was on Twitter and they were like, oh, the spirit molecule is a DMT molecule, that they've been able to isolate the molecule within the body that allows you to feel that sense of divinity, and like, you know, we have some sort of God particle, you know, some connection to God. So there's a documentary, it was on YouTube, I haven't seen it in a while, but so I don't want to say I'm gonna have a link in the description because I haven't actually looked for it, but there's a documentary called The Spirit Molecule. It's about DMT. And DMT is essentially, you can actually, DMT is found in a bunch of things. It's found in a few different plants, but it is potent in ayahuasca, and people take ayahuasca to have those DMT trips. And when in the actual documentary, they actually isolated the DMT so that they can witness what those type of trips look like in general. And during that process, they did see like, okay, with the actual patients, they were coming back like it was full on acid trips, you know. They were talking about going to other realms. They were talking about talking to beings and figuring out the facts of life type of thing. So I will be real with you, DMT is definitely stronger, but ayahuasca is the actual plant that you can utilize to get the same effect. It's illegal to use in the US, but you can go to retreats and things like that to have that spiritual experience. So I'm actually going to reference a book called The Usa Guide to Balance, Mind, Body, and Spirit. This book, I'm not going to lie, shout out to my homeboy. He really, when he was sending me pictures from this book, I was blown the fuck away. Now with this, it's basically talking about a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? It's talking about nutrition, everything. But when it was speaking about the spiritual aspect, And it got into how the ayahuasca tea ceremonies are and how the Iboga ceremonies are. I was like, wow, I did not even know. Because you can watch a documentary and see people's experience on DMT, but if to read someone's firsthand experience with it, it was just like, okay, this is rather intense. Now I'm going to read a quick excerpt just to give you guys an idea. Ayahuasca is an Amazonian plant, so it's normally found in South America and things like that. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. So, when ayahuasca is properly used, it is advised to only use it with a trained shaman. The reason being is because it is deeply healing on a soul level. It is said that a few ayahuasca ceremonies are as effective on one psyche as 5 years of Western psychotherapy. So basically, a few DMT trips is equivalent to 5 years of going to therapy, bro, and taking medication, whatever your psychotherapy is. Now, the reason for needing a shaman to conduct the ceremony is with ayahuasca, unlike Iboga, ayahuasca opens up your universe, your chakra system, and your luminous energy field. And therefore, it needs help holding things. Therefore, you're going to need help holding things together. So that is what you have the shaman for. What the shaman does is hold that mind, body, spirit together on an etheric level. So that way, no outside forces can host your energetic body, and you're actually able to go through the full experience while not having to worry about snapping or slipping away or things like that. So this is rather interesting because I did not know that there was other plants that did the same aspect. So while ayahuasca has, we know that that's pretty common over here in the West. Now, there's another plant called Iboga. So this is rather interesting. This is referred to as the stern father. So ayahuasca tea is actually a feminine tea. It goes into the yin realm. You have a more chaotic, like, abstract type of trip. And shit can get a little bit more dangerous because you're now more receptive to other entities and stuff like that. Now with Iboga, it has the same effects in terms of helping with your mental health that ayahuasca does, except it is not as chaotic. It's the yang side. So the Iboga experience is unique in the realms of psychedelics, almost to the point to where it should be part of a different category. Around 1 hour upon ingesting the Iboga, there's a sensation of falling deeper into oneself. It basically connects you with your higher self in the realm of thought, becomes one of a higher nature. The reason for doing a full Iboga flood was to clear out old imprints in a luminous energy field and let go of old traumas and past conditioning buried deep. So to cut a long story short, Iboga makes the person revisit old traumatic events which have been stored within the energetic body and subconscious mind. It may be uncomfortable for a while, but it ensures a very in-depth removal of stagnant energy and past pain. It is like meeting the stern father, so to speak, looking back on life in a loving way and letting go of what no longer serves you. So, whereas most psychedelics either heighten normal senses or make them seem to disappear altogether, during the Iboga experience, you are acutely aware of the physical discomfort of the body. So you'll be able to pick up on your rapid heart rate, intense dizziness, possibly buzzing in the ears, and a stern voice of truth lasting for 12 hours long, bro. Ooh, imagine that. Okay. So this is rather interesting because, you know, we talk about clear cognizance and being able to, you know, have received those psychic messages just through your thoughts. Imagine having this when this was described. This is how a shamanic journey is for me. And honestly, like it can be induced from just really nothing. It can be a situation I'm going through. It could be I smoked some weed, now I'm high, now I'm into it. You know what I'm saying? Or I got a little bit drunk, now I'm into a damn shamanic journey. You know, but honestly, normally it feels more so like this with a Iboga plant, to where it's super duper introspective. It feels like I've fallen into myself. And now I'm just picking up on a lot. Now, this is why, like I said, a lot of my shamanic journeys have been where I've been dealing with past life trauma and ancestral stuff. I've been dealing with that a lot with my recent shamanic journeys. Now, I will say I've had more of the ayahuasca type of trip where it was super, you know, I was just super aware of what was going on with other entities, and it was really chaotic and things like that. But I will say, you know, especially when I'm going into a shamanic journey just for my own personal healing, it does tend to be more on the Iboga side now that I have more of a handle on it. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like I know that when I am being induced into a shamanic journey, I already know what to do. And actually, I want to speak about that a little bit too, because Dr. Madola speaks about that too, where with I basically, just so you guys know, so I can actually correlate it for you guys. Shamans are, if you want to kind of pinpoint where you may be, if you have any sort of, like I said, schizophrenic episodes, bipolar disorder, things like that, you're more so probably along the lines of a shaman, mainly because you have the ability to go through different realms. You're able to, you know, snap in and out. Now, in terms of your actual natural abilities as that healer, you know what I'm saying? When you are going through your birth, how that would manifest. For me personally, I always think of that those people who are looked at as bipolar, they're really just shapeshifters. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people who have like Gemini traits, Pisces traits, things like that, you know, where they have the dual signs and things like that. A lot of those people are shapeshifters. But I'm not saying that. I just speak about those who literally have such extremes that their actual energetic body goes through. I do view them as shapeshifters. Now, those I will say with the schizophrenic situation, honestly, it is hard to pinpoint because there's a lot of different ways that that can show up. You know what I'm saying? But I do like to go ahead and umbrella it under shaman, specifically because as I've done my research and stuff like that, it does seem like people who are schizophrenic do tend to correlate with these type of abilities, where they're able to get the messages from the other realm. They're able to go into a trance-like state to where they can actually possibly see the spirits, pick up on them, hear them, all these different things. And they're actually able to interact in those different realms. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I do think that that is just because that is the actual job of a shaman, you automatically go into that bucket for me. But to be completely honest, we already know everybody cannot be categorized and shit like that. But that would actually be a total episode that I do. I've been thinking about doing that, but I will give it some time, just because I did have a dream a little while back that you know, there was some, I do feel like a lot of people with the ship that, let me just kind of sidebar this. And to be completely honest, these are things that with my Patreon, it's just going to be easier for me to go ahead and just do like full on episodes about. But with the shift that's going on with the collective and things like that, a lot of people are having a lot more of their psychic and telepathic and kinetic, supernatural abilities come online, meaning that they're becoming activated. People are, they spend a lot of time at home, they spend a lot of time cultivating and things like that, and people are becoming a lot more just energetically sensitive to the things that they have going on that probably have been there since birth, and the things that other people have going on, so now that they're able to now pick up on it. So I will say that there may be some incidences where, and not even maybe, there's like a guaranteed, because you can already see what's happening with that, how people are trying to go under like some sort of like lockdown of their genetic coding and things like that. They're actually volunteering to do that themselves, but some people by force, or seemingly by force, because they don't want to quit their job. But whatever the fuck, the point is that there is a real effort to keep your DNA locked down so that you cannot activate all aspects of it. But I will be doing, at some point, once I kind of categorize things and do more research on it, just outside of my own personal opinion, I will do a full episode where I may be able to categorize the different mental health things that we see and match that along with some of the supernatural abilities that we know that people have. But that'll be something that is more so, just for organizing and to create language around things. But to be completely honest, whatever you're peeping and seeing within yourself, it may not even be able to be named. It may not fit into no cookie cutter box. You know how complex these things are. But anyway, so I just thought it was interesting learning about the Iboga ceremonies, because I'm like, dang, this is exactly what a shamanic journey sounds like. So it was just rather interesting. And ayahuasca is definitely very much so a shamanic journey. But if we're talking about, when a light one, where you just trying to do some quick healing, not quick, but you're trying to do some healing, the Iboga, it definitely describes it way in depth. It definitely feels like that. So, okay. During the process, you're tapping into your own database of memories, means, and anchor points. The spirit of Iboga crystallizes momentous visuals in your inner chalkboard, whilst also hearing a telepathic voice of truth, both answering questions and pointing out blind spots over the course of a single session, which can last up to 36 hours, depending on your sensitivity, dose, and current state of consciousness. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. When I have shamanic journeys and I constantly have like thoughts coming in, and it seems like as soon as I ask a question, I can ask a very simple question. Well, not even simple. I can ask in my mind, I can ask like a really profound question just about the universe. And for some reason, I'm able to deduce it and come to a conclusion. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, do the Googles. Oh shit, bitch, you're right. You know what I'm saying? So not gonna lie, this Iboga ceremony is very, very similar to a shamanic journey. I'm not gonna lie at all. So that is just rather interesting. You know what I'm saying? And if you've been on acid, I feel like people have had those moments too, to where they figured out they just seem like they have the answers to the universe already within them. And everybody says that anyway, but to actually experience it is another thing. That's the thing. And that's what the point I was making about people who say that they're so magical, they're so powerful and things of that nature. But, do you really have firsthand direct experience with this type of information where you do actually feel that level of the consciousness that you're speaking about? Like, yes, it's one thing to read it in a book and say the mind is all, the universe is mental, but have you really felt that before? Have you really felt you glitching your entire environment around you? Not to say, what I'm saying, oh, I'm bragging this and that, but nigga, you wouldn't be so egotistical about being so magical and this and that if you had that experience, because when you had that experience and it's lasted for 36 hours, 3 days, weeks upon end, months for some people have been in that, and when it is just not induced by, you know, Iboga or Ayahuasca, people who actually start activating naturally and coming, you know, activating their powers, that should be lasting months. People be in mental health crisis for months, going through it, boo-boo, making it through, boo-boo. And some people, they choose to go ahead on the transition because they don't know what the fuck going on. But the point the fuck is, these people be going to fuck through it and getting into the truth of the universe. You feel like you done figured out life. I swear to God, especially when that should be lasting for days, boy, I be like, okay, now what the fuck is the point of life? Then, oh, you're here to discover that. No, listen. No. We're not gonna do, oh, just live out your purposes and that. I be getting tired when I be on them trips sometimes. And that's just a side note, because I just be like, universe, really? I can ask all these questions to figure out the inner workings and the mechanisms. But when I say, what's the point of me being here? Oh, that's what you're supposed to figure out. Come on. And then I'm getting the images and the memories of all the little things that I really get excited about and I said I want to do with my life and shit. I'm like, are you sure? Because I need, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's because I'm young too. I do think it's because I'm young, and also a lot of the time I'm very, like I said, I'm very protected spiritually. This is why I'm like, okay, for real, do not try to induce this shit without no shaman, for real, nigga. I've never taken ayahuasca and I've never taken Iboga, bro, and I've experienced this shit. I'm sitting here telling you, do not do this shit without a shaman or without somebody to help you and guide you through this process and expect this shit to be easy peasy, baby. It's not. So what I'm saying is that during that process, when you're picking up on information and things like that, I think that due to my personal spiritual protection with my family, with my lineage, and the fact that, you know, technically by birthright, I am a shaman, like that's just a thing. It's just literally something connected to my ancestry. I think that there's only but, so after that first time that I had that shamanic journey and I was feeling a little bit suicidal, after that first time I felt like that, it has been so much protection before I've gotten to that point to where it's like I'm at home alone and randomly my family is calling me so much, like they suddenly so worried about me. Like, so I said, families can be telepathic and things like that. But like it gets to the point where like if I'm in a shamanic journey for too long, it seems like suddenly the people in my life that say they care about me, they seem to just want to talk to me so much or be around me and this and that. Which is why I talk about the Truman Show effect, the things of that nature. I am always a little bit weary, but I've been learning to be a little bit more comfortable with people supporting me and understanding, yes, I'm a magical being. No, I don't play the bullshit. No, I'm not going to be on a program bullshit. Don't hit me with none of that bullshit. If you coming over here and you acting like that, I'm going to call you out and you're going to feel offended. And like I cuss you out, you're going to have everything. Yes. What? I don't give a fuck. Because, bitch, if this is a motherfucking Truman Show, bitch, what the fuck is going on and why the fuck is you in on it? You know what I'm saying? So that's my personal philosophy. So my family already know. Yeah, and that's exactly why the last time I went through a shamanic journey, and that was the last time, but because I actually went through a shamanic journey after that shit. After I got out of jail, I said, now why the fuck? I should have just stayed my ass in the house that day. But after I went to jail behind a shamanic motherfucking journey, I said, bitch, this is why your motherfucking ass don't need to get you need to keep the violence to a minimum. That's what they say about schizophrenic people, or they gonna kill you, they scared or whatever. I understand, because if we in the middle of a shit and some shit go left, and then now we left. Oh no, baby, I'm not about to have that conversation. We gonna turn. If you turn up on me, I'm turning up back, because I already think this shit fake. So at this point, what the fuck? I just figured out the secret to life just by asking my motherfucking mind, and I got an answer, and I can Google and verify it, bitch. But fuck you. No. Don't be acting like no motherfucking handle around me, bitch, because that pisses me off. But you know, okay, we back to it. The point of the fucking matter is that Now I have built up the spiritual strength and the spiritual stamina to say, okay, we're not doing the suicidal moment. We're not doing the suicidal the fuck moment. First of fucking all, because nigga, you too young. That's just what the fuck it is. At 25 years old, you're too young. That's just the truth. You brought your happy ass here because of your own shit. I ain't gonna say all my reasons for being here today. Not past life. So I'll be like, now, is this the reason why I'm here? What the fuck is this it? Because this is some crazy shit. But anyway, you brought your happy ass here through your own choices, whether you were manipulated into the shit or the fuck not. You brought your happy ass here. Now, if you go through the whole fucking alchemical process and make sure your motherfucking heart is light, your mind is clear, your DNA has built up the muscle memory to say, bitch, we ain't going back. I have no inclinations to go the fuck back. Subconscious, unconscious, whatever the fuck level of consciousness, I ain't going the fuck back. Right? Until you are secure within your mind, body, spirit, and soul, within that, your happy ass gonna have to rock out for a little while longer, bitch, because we ain't gonna keep it up. And so I really do think that's the reason why, when I be like, well, why the fuck am I here? Spirit be like, bitch, you supposed to that was the whole point of you living this shit out. Yeah, in another dimension, you've completed it. Okay, I can give you an insight on what your higher self is, you know what I'm saying? Because I've had communication with my higher self and things like that. You can have that sense of feeling like, oh, I'm completely zened with my higher self, but your happy ass still got to wake up here on this 3D level. So it is what it is. It is what it is. This body has not expired now. So after you have your dream, you can wake up here, deal with this reality, and you can go to another reality when you go back to sleep. That's how that works. So that's what I'm sitting here telling y'all. When you are going through these type of situations, that fuse being short-circuited is very much so likely. It's very much so likely you don't want to do it. You don't want to play the game. That is why they said what? When you're going through your birth of the healer, you need your community support. Your community support so that you can receive your message, interpret it, break it down, flip it, share it, whatever you got to do. Hone in on your power because you got the signal. You got the signal. You tuned in. Don't tune out, nigga. Keep your motherfucking signal in because you never know what you may need to hear from the spiritual realm. Go about your business. Go live life. You have been initiated. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the situation was. And is for a lot of people who is not underneath this Western medicine egregore that we in. Okay. Okay, so that basically describes the Iboga experience and things like that. So what people have done is they'll go through these different trips, either with Iboga or Ayahuasca, whatever it is, to either rid themselves of addictions, to heal whatever sort of like medical illness they may have and things like that. So not gonna lie, I do think that it is a healthy practice to include, because right now in what we're dealing with, everybody's talking about a whole mental health crisis. Baby, y'all is not doing nothing really that fucking effective to prevent the damn mental health crisis. All y'all doing is talk about some damn prescription medication. That's all we got. And talk therapy. Even though I do appreciate the fact that talk therapy is becoming a lot more accessible, because yes, communicating and getting it out and expressing what's happening is helpful. It is. I'm not gonna lie. However, you can't just tell me to talk to somebody and take a pill. Bitch, no. You need a holistic approach, bitch. That I can tell you right now, that ain't gonna fix it. That ain't gonna fix it. Are you gonna be a nutritionist too? Because I need to be working out. Are you gonna be some sunlight and a motherfucking beach, bitch? Because I need a vacation so I can just, get my vitamin D and my sunlight and just, zen the fuck out. But anyway, that's me. I'm getting into ratchet mode. So let me get serious. Now, the reason why I'm coming at the Western egregore of mental health is because I have looked into it. Now, Brother Panic actually spoke about this in one of his videos where he was speaking about, I think it was a YouTube video or a documentary that he had watched, but essentially it was a Black counselor and he was counseling a man who was dealing with depression, like chronic depression, and he felt like he had suicidal thoughts and he wanted to kill himself. And when the counselor was like, okay, trying to figure out what was going on with the guy, the counselor was using his spiritual work to do so. And he realized that the guy had an entity attached to him of a former slave. So someone that his, like the actual patient's family owned slaves, and one of the slaves was haunting the fucking lineage, bro. I'm not saying listen. The point is that with you really thought that you, like, let me tell you now, as a therapist without that sight and ability to see what was going on, that man just would have been talking about his suicidal ideations for all day and all motherfucking night. Oh, here go your workout plan. Here go here go your recommendations for getting some sun. Here go your medication. Here go your, cognitive behavioral therapy, all this shit. And the whole motherfucking time he just got a spirit up on him. You would have been doing that all day long. You know what I'm saying? You would have literally, like, I guess the spirit may have left had you, if you was able to somehow make amends during that process, hopefully. But if you don't even know what you need to be making amends for, your happy ass is you need to hang it up. You need to hang it the fuck up. So that was rather interesting. So I actually, at the time I was in college when I first heard about that. And so I did some research into it. I couldn't find the actual website that I found the first time, but it was so long ago. I'm like, I don't even remember what I Google searched. But I was able to find remnants of the information I found. Because apparently in Cuba and a few other places like Brazil, they have, and I will say, actually, they actually have this in America too, but I don't know how effective it is. But they actually have mental health clinics that integrate spiritual therapy. So it's called a spiritist mental health clinic. So a spiritist clinic. And I did some research, and let's actually get into this. So they still have spiritist clinics in Brazil for sure, because when I looked it up, there's actually a few ones from Brazil that popped up. And when I was reading the description, they were just basically talking about the fact that they don't subscribe to a religious practice, but they use a philosophy of Christ consciousness to integrate with their psychological work. So whatever therapy that they're doing, they actually integrate with it. Now, I'm like, okay, we know there's faith-based therapists and things like that, but the spiritists take it to another level. They actually, so the practitioners actually do rituals to diagnose and to heal. So let's get into some extreme examples of the spiritists in modern times. So in the 1900s, there was this Afro this Afro-Cuban healer by the name of Hilario Garzon. And he was actually able to cure hundreds of patients using his spiritual methods and his rituals. And he basically got that practice of using spirituality with mental health popular in Cuba. Now, he got a lot of backlash due to the fact that he did a controversial, allegedly did a ritual murder, Jesus Lord, of white children throughout the country to I'm assuming heal the land. I don't know what. Now, my thing is this, right? With great power comes great responsibility. We were just talking about that. Not gonna lie, based off the example from earlier with when the counselor realized that the white dude, his family owned slaves and things like that, and he had a slave haunting him. I'm not gonna lie, I do see where practitioner Garzon was going with it, because I'm like, okay, maybe he was trying to cleanse, and maybe you can get bogged down with, constantly getting the same type of patients over and over again. You're like, hell, maybe we just need to do a mass ritual. Not of no damn child sacrifice, absolutely the fuck not. But that's what the fuck he did. This is the 1900s. So I will say this is fresh off of slavery. I don't know what his situation was. He was Afro-Cuban, by the way. So we know that he was dealing with the prisoner of war. Okay. Meaning that he's descendant of a prisoner of war, by the way, because everybody don't want people to say slave no more. They want to say prisoner of war. Call it what you want, nigga. Just don't call me broke, nigga. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Call it what you want, but you know who the fuck went through the alchemical process, nigga. Call it whatever. Okay. Anyway, he went through the alchemical process somewhere down the line in his ancestry. Okay, to be Afro-Cuban. And that was his journey as a spiritist. He ended up, going to jail, whatever. But he did make the whole notion of integrating that practice popular in Cuba. Now, after him, there was another dude named Juan who ended up kind of taking the leadership for the whole spiritist movement. And he was actually pretty revered. He ended up, being rather successful up until they stopped allowing spiritist clinics to open up, and that was in like the 1960s. So with the spiritist practices, essentially they just, now, I can't say exactly what they do because it does change based off the culture, as well as which faith they are focusing on. Basically, like which spiritual philosophy are they going to utilize, right? Because like I was telling you, when I was looking it up in Brazil, one of the websites, they were speaking about the fact that they were using the philosophy of Christ to integrate with their psychology. Now, they, in terms of the actual spiritual practices that they had available, they were using energy healing through touch and things like that. And if you understand Reiki and stuff like that, that's helpful. So that is what they utilize to integrate their spiritual practice into their psychological practices. However, if you go to a different country with different philosophies, it may be a little bit more extreme. Maybe like the Cubans, you know, they have a little bit more of a connection to like Santeria, probably. I really don't know what exactly the rituals were. You know, when I was reading the article, I can actually include that in the description as well. They didn't say exactly what Garzon's philosophy was, but I think if you're doing any sort of sacrifices, you're probably closer to like Brujeria, Santeria, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know, that's just so you guys can have an idea. I mean, he could be doing voodoo, I don't know, but well, he's probably passed now. But you know, the point is that during when you are when you do your own research with this, during those processes of those therapies, it may be different methods and modalities that are used. So that's just to give you guys an idea that we don't have to utilize things in the way that we are right now. I feel like we're boxing ourselves in currently with our mental health approach in America because we're only focused on prescription drugs and, you know, keeping people locked up in damn straitjackets instead of actually really trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And to be completely honest, you know, I was doing some additional research, and there was a couple of other articles that I looked at about the Dagara people, and people were just speaking about their own anecdotes and their own personal experiences with it. And one person mentioned the fact that, you know, somebody going in their village, someone going through that type of spiritual crisis is more so a reflection of the greater community rather than that individual. So, you know, unfortunately, we know that the root cause of a lot of what people are dealing with, where they have to have such bad mental health crises and they don't have the resources to mitigate and address it before it gets so fucking terrible, is because of the way things are in the infrastructure that we're dealing with in America now. But you know, that's the situation. You got to work with what you got. So that is all for me today. I don't really have much of a word to the wise for this situation, but I will say this. Word to the wise: that homeless person, that crazy person, you know, whatever it is, that degenerate, that, you know, that person that you deem as unstable and psychotic, that person might be closer to God than you think. You know what I mean? So before you judge someone and make assumptions about who they are as an individual, just because you see some of the more extreme symptoms of their spiritual crises and their mental and their mental fuse and the signals and things that they putting out, before you go ahead and judge, go ahead and think twice and say, you know the fuck what? If a nigga ain't going crazy in this bitch, if a nigga think that any of this shit is motherfucking normal, then maybe they are the ones that are crazy. You know what I'm saying? If you think that this shit is supposed to be functioning in the way it is in terms of society, then maybe you are the insane one, my nigga. So that is it, and that is all. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Follow me at Size of Sage on all of my platforms. Join the Patreon for early episodes, of course. And with that, we out this bitch. Peace.